Hello and thank you for joining us on Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. 15 students of Bethel Baptist Secondary School, Kaduna, who regained freedom from bandit captivity Sunday morning have been reunited with their families. Haruna Muhammad reports.
In company of the President Baptist Convention and other officials, they arrived at the church secretariat Kaduna. The 15 students bring to 43 the number of kidnapped students who have regained freedom from the bandits since their abduction from the school about 2 months ago.
In everything, God says we should give thanks, and we are giving thanks for what He has done, and we are trusting that the same God who has brought these 15 out is going to help us to receive the other 63.
I want to thank God for well-wishers, relatives, and the Church of God, who actually have been supporting to see that our children are being released.
Efforts have been intensified to secure the release of the remaining students. A total of 121 of the students were abducted by bandits on July 5. In Kaduna, Haruna Muhammad, NTA News.
Meanwhile, operatives of the Nigerian Police Force working with the military and other security forces have arrested one 22-year-old female suspect, one Gloria Okoli, for her alleged complicity in a series of deliberate and well-coordinated attacks on security formations, other critical national infrastructure, including INEC offices, and the killing of security operatives in the southeastern part of the country. A statement by the force indicates that the suspect, a native of Umutanzai in Imo State, was arrested following investigations and implementation of Operation Restore Peace. Police investigations reveal that Gloria, who is a member of IPOB ESN in Imo State, worked closely with one Benjamin Uzoma, ESN commander, earlier declared wanted by the police for his role in planning, coordinating and executing attacks on the Imo State Police Command headquarters and Imo State headquarters of the Nigerian Correctional Service. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Ali Baba, has applauded the security operatives for the unrelenting fight against violent crimes in the country. The IGP is also assuring citizens of the commitment of the force to improve public safety and security in the country. Nigerians have been urged to be security conscious and report any suspicious character or movement to relevant security agencies. The Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps made the plea during an inspection visit to the Kano Command Office. Hadiza Muhammad Ali reports.
The visit to Kano State Command by the Commander General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps is meant to re-energize officers and men to be more proactive in the discharge of their duties. He, however, urged them to always respect the fundamental human rights of the citizenry as enshrined in Nigerian Constitution. The Commander General also took his time to inspect offices and surroundings of the State Command Office, which he acknowledged as satisfactory.
The nation is passing through a new conflict, and we need everybody, every Nigerian, every citizen to come to the aid of the security law enforcement agencies.
He further cautioned them to be more committed in meeting up with the present-day security challenges in the country. In Kano, Hadiza Muhammad Ali, NTA News.
Similarly, the fight against banditry, kidnapping and other forms of criminality in the country has received a boost as the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps Kaduna State Command has trained its first batch of female armed squad for various combat operations. Adamu Sunday reports.
Training is part of effort to reposition the Corps in scaling up the fight against all forms of criminality in the country. Minister of Interior, through his representative, congratulated the squad, urging them to discharge their duties in line with the rules of engagement of the Corps.
This is just the first set, and it's a continuous thing, and we'll continue doing it. By the end of the day, we'll have them all over, and Kaduna will be peaceful again.
They have been trained, they have been equipped, they have been given the capacity to do the needful by ensuring that government infrastructures are being protected and preserved, and protection of life and property.
Inspector Musa Maria, like 53 others in the armed squad who are drawn from different units within the Kaduna Command, will be deployed for various combat operations. In Kaduna, Adamu Sunday, NTA News.
And on the diplomatic front, Nigeria's recent commitment to progressive diplomacy has signaled changes in the country's foreign policy stance. A diplomat and currently the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, stated this in a message at a conference in Abuja. Foreign Desk correspondent Usman Aliu reports.
This public lecture, organized by the Society for International Relations Awareness, provides one significant illustration, that is how Nigeria's diplomacy in recent years is guided by national interest. In their submissions, experts on diplomacy were quick to explain how the stalemate between Nigeria and big power nations jeopardized peace and security at the time Nigeria was at the most difficult times. That situation changed for the better by the Buhari presidency, as explained by Professor Ibrahim Gambari, himself a diplomat and academic, now Chief of Staff to the President, in a message delivered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyama.
The Buhari administration was able to mobilize international support for the war against Boko Haram, forging strong partnerships with key countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, ECOWAS sub-region, the AU, as well as the United Nations. After years of stalemate, the United States finally agreed to sell, and has indeed sold, weapons to Nigeria, 12 Super Tucano aircraft.
Even though Nigeria's foreign policy did not change since independence, but there are opportunities beyond economy and neighborhood diplomacy.
A couple of things that were enunciated by the Prime Minister in the 60s have been achieved. The other issues, economic development and the rest of them, nation building is what is being pursued today.
Please let us continue our Pan-Africanist foreign policy. Let's be a brother's keeper. Let Nigeria be, a champion of all black people in the world.
They say President Buhari's resolution has brought Nigeria's global commitments in line, both with its core national interests and its material means. Usman Aliu, NTA News.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the suspension of Twitter operations in Nigeria is not in any way an attempt at shutting out Nigerian youths from accessing or sharing information. The minister explained this during interview sessions with international media organizations in his ongoing media engagement in Washington, D.C., the United States. Anthony Forson reports.
One question that resonated in the media engagement is the suspension of Twitter operation in Nigeria, questioning that Nigeria, with a huge youth population, why suspend Twitter as its users form bulk of the population?
Because national security is more important at this point in time than the ability of people to share information, especially when there are other platforms doing the same thing.
Going forward, Lai Mohammed disclosed that the leader of the technical team interfacing with Twitter management belongs to that category.
It is also correct to say that Nigeria is one of the youngest population in the world, and we have given a lot of responsibility to young Nigerians. As a matter of fact, the young man who is heading the technical committee negotiating with Twitter is an extremely young man.
Thank you.
You see, in the first instance, it's because there's a country called Nigeria. That is where there are people. If there's no Nigeria, there will be no freedom of anything. So, in that respect, I think we are quite firm in saying that if Twitter, again, threatens national security of our country or the national unity, would definitely do the same thing.
On infrastructural development, the minister maintained that it will be the pivot upon which sustainable development and economic growth will be achieved. In Washington, D.C., Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The Commander Multinational Joint Task Force (MNJTF) Major General Abdul Khalifa Ibrahim has stressed determination to ensure that the remnants of the Islamic State West African province ISWAP and elements of the Boko Haram group are rooted out of the Lake Chad basin. In a statement by the Chief of Military Public Information, Colonel Muhammad Doli, the Commander MNJTF gave the charge while on operational visit to formations under his command. The commander was at the Forces Sector 3 with headquarters in Monguno, Borno State, Nigeria, Sector 1 headquarters in Moura, Cameroon, and Sector 2 in Bagasola, Chad, where he was accompanied by principal staff officers from all participating countries. Major General Ibrahim expressed renewed commitment to taking the fight to the enclaves of the terrorists to hasten the end of the conflict. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has apprehended a major drug dealer wanted for attempting to export 69.65 kilograms of cocaine, heroin and cannabis to the United Kingdom through the narco export shed of the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos. The suspect was arrested at a church in Ojudu, Ikeja area of Lagos State on Thursday, 12th August 2021. In the same vein, NDLEA operatives at the Lagos airport arrested an Italy-bound passenger during the outward clearance of passengers on Ethiopian Airways flights to Italy via Addis Ababa for ingesting illicit drugs, which the suspect, under observation, excreted 68 wraps of heroin weighing 800 grams. Other illicit substances intercepted by narcotic officers at the Lagos airport include 1.66 kilograms of methamphetamine concealed in bolts and locally made footwear going to Australia, 1 kilogram of cocaine coming from Ghana with UK as destination, and arrest of South African returnee with 58 grams of skunk. Meanwhile, at least 2.58 kilograms of diverse illicit drugs were seized from multiple suspects in the past week. The illicit substances are cannabis sativa, tramadol capsules, roniphenol, and codeine syrup, among others. Now, for more security reports, let's join Adiola in Lagos on Nationwide. Hello, Adiola.
Hello, Najatu. 4 fuel-laden trucks containing 129,000 liters of siphoned petrol have been intercepted and impounded by the Nigerian Navy at Barua, a community in Abuja area of Lagos State. Adeniyi Taiwo reports that the vandals were stopped in their truck during a patrol exercise by operatives of a joint task force, Operation Awase.
These are some of the points with improvised equipment used by the vandals to siphon refined products from a network of pipelines running under the earth's surface in Barua, a community in Ipaja area of Lagos. These 4 trucks, already loaded with petrol, were being prepared for takeoff when security operatives under Operation Awase, led by the Nigerian Navy, swooped on them. On sighting the operatives, the vandals fled, leaving behind fuel-laden trucks. The flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Jason Bessa, who lauded members of the public for assisting security agencies with actionable information, said pipeline vendors will no longer enjoy a free rein in the state.
Striking thing is that within a built-up area like this, for people to have the effrontery to come and carry out illegal acts against the mandate of Operation Awase, what follows is we're going to move them back to base and follow up with further investigations and handing over to appropriate prosecuting agencies.
He says with interagency cooperation being ramped up among security outfits, national economy and the health of communities such as Barua will no longer be endangered by the activities of vandals.
It impacts on the availability of the products to our economy and to this immediate environment, a built-up area where residents are. The fumes from this activity alone is a threat to their health.
Operation Awase was set up in October 2014 by the Nigerian Navy as a joint military task force to stop incessant siphoning of petrol from vandalized NNPC pipelines in Lagos and its environs. In Lagos, Adini Itaiwo, NTA News.
Now, it will no longer be business as usual for street beggars, hawkers and destitutes in Lagos State as government sets up a special team to curb their activities across the metropolis. Musa Toliat reports that the special team will be led by the Ministry of Youth and Social Development and the Lagos State Police Command.
The presence of destitutes who are either beggars, street hawkers, or traffic robbers, especially in traffic across major roads in Lagos, is a common sight. Their activities have over time assumed alarming dimensions, causing serious concerns to residents. The state government is, however, poised to put a stop to their illicit activities by setting up a special squad to deal decisively with the social menace.
If there is ever a time for us to roll up our sleeves and toil day and night for this menace to be confined to the dustbin of history in Lagos State, it is now. The activities of these people on our streets impede human movement and vehicular traffic, constitute environmental nuisance, and worse still, constitute security threats.
And to worsen the matter, kids are involved in this. And the government is saying kids that are supposed to be in school should not be on the streets begging.
Various sections of the Lagos State Criminal Law 2015, including Section 168, subsection 1B, E, and F, prohibit begging and constituting public nuisance. The Lagos State Police Command frowns at violation of such provisions of the law.
We have so many times arrested people based on wheelchair with lethal weapons hidden there. So if we are able to collaborate with state governments and take all these miscreants who are not supposed to be off the road, then members of the public will have a good opportunity of relief.
Arrangements have also been made by the state government to rescue and protect the destitute, mentally challenged, and street children who will be exposed to psychosocial therapy during the course of rehabilitation for them. In Lagos, Musa Tolia, NTA News.
Well, Makurdi will be our next.
Good to have you join us in Makurdi. Over 10,000 internally displaced persons are expected to benefit from the free medical outreach carried out by the PET project of wife of the Benue State Governor, Eunice Spring of Life Foundation. Grace Anyalewa Ichepa reports that the free medical outreach is in collaboration with the Benue State government and other stakeholders.
The IDP camps that have benefited from the free medical outreach include Bajimba, Ikram, and Daudu, all in Guma local government area. Some of the beneficiaries appreciated the wife of the governor for the kind gesture and expressed the hope that the situation will return to normal to enable them go back to their homes.
My appreciation is going to Mrs. Eunice Oton for the helping our father, mother, brothers and sisters to give them medicine to survive in their life.
Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Dr. Joseph Mbeya, who represented the state governor, and the executive secretary, Benue State Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. Bem Ageda, said they will continue to support such free outreach programs by providing resources to ensure the exercise is a success. Wife of the governor, Dr. Eunice Otom, said the free medical outreach is to alleviate the internally displaced persons of the various ailments they suffer under the harsh conditions they found themselves.
Government, health staff posted to IDP camps and adjoining health facilities have been providing health services to IDPs. Development partners such as Doctors Without Borders, among others, have made significant contributions to treatment at select IDP camps.
The free medical outreach is to cover all the IDP camps across the state. In Makurdi, Grace Anyalewa Ichepa, NTA News.
Building an egalitarian and sustainable society targeted at the inclusive development requires a holistic approach where women are given fair opportunity and empowerment in order for them to meaningfully contribute their quota. This was highlighted during the flag off of a grassroots women empowerment program by the Grassroots Women Development Advocacy Foundation held in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. Elias Itiab has more.
Born out of the desire to raise the standard of living for women in rural communities through empowerment programs, the Grassroots Development Advocacy Foundation, a non-governmental organization, has since its existence prioritized the upliftment of women across the country. National President of the Foundation, Gloria Ihotu Otupa, called for more investment in women for a better society.
We are now doing our part by engaging the women at the grassroots, the local women, to bring them up to standard, to mobilize them for social change.
This organization was set up to tailor every woman so that we have a direction towards developing the woman.
The event also witnessed a presentation of awards to deserving individuals for their outstanding contributions to issues of women and the society in general. In Makurdi, Elias, ATF, NTA News.
And that's our package from Makurdi. It's time to return to Naija Atu in Abuja for more on NTA Nationwide.
Thank you, Susan. The Director General of the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission says broadcast organizations in Nigeria are under obligation to inform and educate citizens objectively within the ambit of the National Broadcast Code, considering the security situation in the country. This was during a meeting with media executives in Enugu. Mina Ukaopusi reports.
One of the mandates of the National Broadcasting Commission is monitoring broadcasts for harmful emissions, interference, and illegal broadcasting, all under the Act. During the meeting at Born Sunshine Hotels, Enugu, the Director General stated that it was an opportunity for stakeholders to interface with the NBC on better ways to sanitize the broadcast system in Nigeria.
You should be mindful of the security situation of your own country. Don't just blow things out of proportion. Don't say things simply because you want to say it. Now, as a journalist, sit down in your room and think, before you take your pen, is what I am going to report going to be good to the nation, or is going to be inimical to the progress or economic progress of the nation?
Speaking on the implications of broadcast coverage on security, a former director, Department of State Service, DSS, maintained that it is necessary that journalists be objective in their reportage. Some of the participants in the meeting, including the Zonal Director, NTA Enugu Network Center, encouraged journalists to always ensure balanced reportage and gain clarity on controversial issues before airing.
If you want to report security, you have to be extremely careful. You don't intend as a journalist to create panic. So you have to make sure you have your sources.
The nation belongs to all of us, and anything that will put the nation on the path of progress is our responsibility.
The National Broadcasting Commission, however, used the opportunity to call for a symbiotic synergy between the broadcast stations and the NBC. In Enugu, Mina Adobiukobasi, NTA News.
The ongoing nationwide strike by resident doctors is likely to be suspended as soon as the federal government starts implementing the new agreements reached at an all-stakeholders meeting aimed at resolving the strike. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngigi, confirmed this while reading a memorandum of understanding with all stakeholders at the conciliatory meeting. Olusheye Adiagbo reports.
It is about 21 days since the National Association of Resident Doctors began an indefinite strike over non-implementation of agreements. The meeting, which started about 3 p.m. on Friday and later adjourned in the early hours of Saturday before reconvening in the afternoon same day and lasted till the late night, came up with a new memorandum of understanding.
But we now expect the NMA and NAD to use this as a plank to consult their members with a view to calling off the strike urgently so we can save the lives that are now being lost unnecessarily.
All the actors signed the agreement except the National Association of Resident Doctors, NAD. NAD representative equally refused to give reasons for declining to sign when approached by journalists. Ngige, however, reacted to what transpired and other issue on the no work, no pay rule.
NAD pleaded with us to consult their members on an item which they want us to include in the conditions of the Memorandum of Understanding. We have inserted our clause that nobody will be victimized for any activity connected with, for or against participating in the industrial action.
As it is now, since all the stakeholders have signed, it is hoped that in coming days, the strike will be over. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has recorded 1,064 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria in the last 24 hours. In the latest figures released, Lagos State has 776 new cases, followed by Rivers State with 143 cases, Ekiti 49, Kwara 33, Ogun 21, Benue 18, Oyo 13, the FCT 5, Oshun 4, and Yobe State 2 cases. Nigeria now has 186,635 confirmed cases of COVID-19. 168,320 have been treated and discharged, while 2,260 deaths have been recorded. And following an increase in COVID-19 infections in the country, medical experts have stressed the need for deliberate efforts of Nigerians to abide by the basic principles of prevention. Mary Jane Chikeze, who spoke with a cross-section of Owerri residents and some medical practitioners, has details.
According to recent COVID-19 reports by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, the number of new infections has been on the increase, making the situation worrisome. What is even more disturbing is the laxity which has continued to trail these developments on the part of the public. A visit to some locations in Owerri, including business places, shows near total negligence of non-pharmaceutical measures, as some facilities initially positioned for hand wash are no more in place. Although some people were seen putting on their nose mask, others were seen without it, as some of them claimed they had it in their handbags.
Putting on face masks is very quite, uncomfortable.
I'm wearing it for my safety and the safety of my loved ones.
While some respondents commended federal government's efforts at ensuring availability of the COVID-19 vaccine in the country, medical experts call for caution to ensure prevention of infection.
But this one will have headache, fever, weakness, all those things that ordinarily you just think that this is just like our infections, just like our malaria that we usually have here. But it's actually quite devastating in terms of the severity of the disease. And mortalities are also higher when you compare that to the other one.
We will start the LGA training so that after that, Imo State will roll out the second phase of the COVID-19 vaccine.
While vaccination remains a valuable tool in the fight against COVID-19, medical experts have stressed the need for those yet to get a jab to do that without further delay. In Owerri, Mary Jane Chikeze, NTA News.
For more than 4 million Nigerians who are diabetic to remain physically active, experts have advocated self-management and a healthy lifestyle, including adherence to medication and treatment for proper management of the disease. This was the main thrust of discussions at the first training of 21 children living with type 1 diabetes in Abuja, Ogun State, on how to manage the disease, where former President Olusegun Obasanjo also raised hope for diabetic patients at the event. Yemi Dalemo reports.
Though cases of diabetes mellitus are not limited to old adults, its prevalence among the young lately is described by medical experts as worrisome. 21-year-old Esther Onofwokon and 15-year-old Adebayo Toluwanimi, who said they have been managing type 1 variant of diabetes for 9 and 2 years respectively, shared their experience.
I'm taking home love, strength, perseverance to cope.
I was actually scared that I don't want to go through this. So it made me wisen up and become more responsible for my health now.
According to experts, many people living with diabetes lack information about its management, and this is why pediatric endocrinologists are canvassing more attention in the area of treatment and management, especially among the young, for healthy living.
There are different risk factors. Okay, we have a genetic predisposition. We also have some environmental factors. Okay, maybe an exposure to some viral infections or some chemicals. Okay, so these work in conjunction and cause a progressive destruction of the pancreas.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who underscored the initiative behind the first Ogun State Youth Diabetes Camp, advocates self-management and healthy lifestyle in order to stay active. Stakeholders, including the Center for Non-Communicable Diseases, say regular enlightenment on appropriate care and nutrition is desirable for people living with diabetes to live a healthier life. In Abuja, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
Let's now join Obehi in our Benin Network Center for more reports.
Naja Hatu, welcome to Benin. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says patriotism, sacrifice and spirit of productivity remain the driving force towards a viable and vibrant nation. He was among the dignitaries that graced the family Thanksgiving service of late Pa Arthur Okowa, the father of the governor of Delta State, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa. Austin Edemodu witnessed the service at St. Michael's Anglican Church, or Alero, in Delta State.
Dignitaries from all walks of life paying their last tribute to late Pa Arthur Okowa, who had since been buried in March this year. This Thanksgiving service and celebration of life is the final lap of the burial rites. Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo described the late octogenarian as a progressive politician, dedicated teacher, and an accomplished community leader.
I think it is obvious that the inheritance that a good man leaves cannot be houses, money, or other forms of material wealth. In any event, there is no guarantee that material wealth can last generations.
The chief mourner, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, gives a glowing account of the late father's positive influence in his life and the entire family.
He was also a good politician. And I thank God that he helped to take me through the initial part of my politics. It was very turbulent, but he reassured me that it shall be well.
The Archbishop, Metropolitan and Primate of all Nigeria, the Most Reverend Henry Ndukuba, led the officiating team. Governor Kowa, in the company of his counterparts, later extended his goodwill messages to guests. I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
The agrarian community of Igbide, Isoko South local government area of Delta State, is appealing to the Delta State government to provide the town with basic infrastructure and save them from perennial flooding by dredging the Uvie Lake. Onye Joshua Ifeanyi reports.
The Igbide community could be grouped among the food basket of Delta State, as both young and old engage in farming. This is also the host community of the popular annual Urie Fishing Festival. However, Igbide community is in dire need of government intervention in the provision of accessible roads, protection from impending flood.
The Igbide Olomoro road is in a very bad state.
And during the flood, our access into our community is always difficult. So we want the government to pick up that road and complete it.
Well, when the place got flooded, our roads, we break down everything, even to come out of the community becomes a burden.
They say, as a crude oil-bearing community, government should give them a sense of belonging as they contribute their quota in the nation's economy. From Igude in Isoko South Local Government Area of Delta State, I am Onyinye Joshua Ifeanyi, NTA News.
Residents of Benin City admit there is significant reduction in the rate of crime in the city as Edo State Police Command partners the local vigilante. Confirming this development, the State Police Public Relations Officer, while reacting to complaints of overbearing attitude of some vigilantes, said the issue of arrest and detention by the group is illegal but is being addressed. Goodluck Inaini has the details.
Nigerian Vigilante Group was introduced to complement the effort of the police in crime prevention. Since the introduction of the security outfits in the state, these respondents say the state has witnessed some level of improvement in security management. Although the relationship between the vigilante and the police has been cordial, the police spokesman says the command has noticed some form of overzealousness which must be discontinued.
Yes, the vigilante has been helping the police in carrying out its constitutional duties of protecting life and property. That is commendable, and we have been commending them. But it is not in the place of the vigilante, which his duty is complementary to the police, to now open a cell of his own, investigate suspects, and even detain them.
For these respondents, curbing the excesses of the outfit is necessary, while constant training and close monitoring will reposition security in the state. Efforts to get the views of the coordinator, Edo State Vigilante Yusuf Haruna, at the time of this report was not successful. In Benin, Goodluck Inaini, NTA News.
Nationwide continues with Mohammed Ibrahim in Maiduguri right after this break.
Good evening, and Nationwide continues from Maiduguri. Multinational Joint Task Force MNJTF with headquarters in Jamena, Chad, has flagged off medical outreach program for returning communities displaced by insurgency in northern Borno State as part of efforts by the military to support vulnerable populations as normalcy returns. Force Commander MNJTF Major General Abdul Khalifa Ibrahim represented flagged off the medical outreach at Sector 3 Operation Hadinkai in Monguno Town, Borno State. The report.
Monguno Town, which is about 130 kilometers away from Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, is housing 5 local government areas with about 800,000 displaced people.
This medical outreach, which is a brainchild of the Force Commander MNJTF, was made possible with the support from United Kingdom, United States, France, and the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries, which provided drugs and equipment worth $60,000.
They have medical needs. We can't be protecting them physically, and then health is ravaging the people. So we have to come all out and ensure that they are equally taken care of health-wise.
The beneficiaries are mostly women, children, and the traumatized, such as Mustafa Lewami, who could not walk for 6 years after sustaining injuries while fleeing from insurgents' attack, is now a proud owner of a wheelchair.
To provide them with the necessary relief. Because as you may notice now, things are coming gradually to normalcy.
The outreach featured distribution of antenatal kits to pregnant women, dispensing of drugs for diagnosed diseases such as malaria, diarrhea, ear and stomach pain, among others.
This medical outreach is part of effort to facilitate stabilization of the Lake Chad region and support the return to normalcy.
Network for Civil Society Organizations in Borno NEXOB have expressed concern over the mass surrender of insurgents that has been instilling fear and bringing diverse opinions in the minds of people across Borno communities. It was in the light of this that NEXOB organized a stakeholders discourse on Nigeria reintegration strategy to provide a workable framework to support government at all levels in that regard. Jadwa John Jassani reports.
table include representatives of traditional and religious institutions, military and paramilitary agencies, National Human Rights Commission, NEMA and SEMA, as well as various humanitarian actors, among others. Questions have continued to emanate from the citizenry regarding the genuineness of the repentance by militants, as well as on the position of the law and religion, among others. Chairman, Network for Civil Society Organizations in Borno, Ambassador Ahmed Shehu, said the forum, which stands as a mediator between the people and government, will continue to prioritize the interest of the public in its dealings, hence the stakeholders roundtable. Ambassador Ahmed Shehu noted that recommendations will be compiled and later passed on to the government concerning the questions being raised by the public.
We have come up with a lot of resolution, of which we are going to now fine-tune it and then make it public. Among some of the recommendation is about aggressive engagement of everyone involved to come up with this solution. And I don't want to preempt some of those things because it has to be panelized and shared with all partners for endorsement before we make it public.
Participants at the meeting suggested non-kinetic framework to be generated on how best to go about the reintegration process without stirring up conflicts among community members. In Maiduguri, Jedwa John Jesney, NTA News.
Those are the stories from Maiduguri. Nationwide continues with Najatu in Abuja. Good evening.
Evening and thank you. The wife of Gombe State Governor Asma'u Muhammadu Inuwa Yahya is seeking more support for women to become educationally and economically self-reliant through entrepreneurship and skill acquisition. In a statement, the wife of the governor is seeking more collaboration with the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Talon, in order to secure more empowerment opportunities for Gombe women, given the reminder that 60% of women's votes contributed to the success of the present APC government in the last polls in most states of the Federation. It therefore becomes imperative to support women to become self-reliant in all ramifications, also noting laudable ongoing programs and developmental projects in Gombe State. Meanwhile, the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Talon, assures Mrs. Inuwa Yahya that the doors of her ministry are always open for continued support and assistance where necessary, while calling on Nigerian women, especially those in governance and the wealthy, to join the crusade of empowering women economically to become self-reliant and better home managers. Meanwhile, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations is to train Nigerians in better ways of detecting and controlling rising cases of animal diseases in the country. Musa Baba Aliu reports.
West African countries, including Nigeria, are having high cases of zoonotic diseases in recent times. Diseases such as Ebola, Lassa, Marburg, and coronavirus. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations is of the view that strengthening the capacity of veterinary doctors towards early detection of diseases in animals will help in reducing the rate of zoonotic cases in West Africa.
Controlling these diseases and limiting their impact is determined by our ability as a nation to predict, detect, and respond in a timely manner.
To this end, the UN agency inaugurates an in-service applied veterinary epidemiology training program aimed at eliminating all related zoonotic diseases in Nigeria.
FAO supports Nigeria in strengthening the capacities of national and local partners in dealing with various animal diseases emergencies through prevention, detection, and response to zoonotic and non-zoonotic disease outbreaks at source. In helping to avoid national, regional, and global spread, the ECTAD program is critical in protecting people and animals from disease threats.
Representatives of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture believe that the Nigeria-FAO partnership will address the emergence and re-emergence of diseases of significant public health, such as avian influenza, African swine fever, among others. Musa Baba Aliu, NTA News.
In an effort to curtail the effects of climate change occasioned by desert encroachment and environmental degradation, Yobe State Government and the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Activities have flagged off the 2021 tree planting campaign in Jakusko local government area as part of the Yobe State Climate Action Plan of raising 3 million seedlings of assorted tree species for free distribution to people across the state. Adam Yusuf Ali reports.
With 10 out of the 17,000 council areas facing the threat of desert encroachment, Yobe State, located in northeast Nigeria, is among the 14 northern states in the country situated in the front line. The planting of 14,000 tree seedlings in one of the most affected council areas is a deliberate policy and strategy adopted by the state government to encourage mass planting of trees across the state to control desertification and low degradation occasioned by climate change.
Safeguarding the environment is a task that requires the cooperation and participation of all and sundry. In this respect, I would like to enjoin the Committee for Environment and Sanitation to each of the 17 local government areas to scale up their activities and also liaise with their respective traditional rulers.
The 2021 tree planting campaign is in line with the Climate Change Action Plan of Yobe State, in which it raised 3 million seedlings of assorted species of trees, which were distributed free of charge to the general public, in addition to establishment of 300 hectares of gone Arabic plantation in the 3 local government areas of the state. The study, conducted from 1990 to 2010 by the European Union, United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, classified Yobe among the states with high deforestation rates in the world. In Damaturu, Adam Yusuf Ali, NTA News.
Similarly, to reduce the severity of heat experienced in the world through the depletion of the ozone layer, regular wetting of the soil and the Earth's crust must be encouraged. The National Center for Agricultural Mechanization is therefore setting the pace by training Nigerian youths in land development operations for mechanized farming, which in turn leads to softness of land and coolness of the Earth's surface. Aisha Abubakar Yahya reports.
During rainy season, there is always a period such as the popular August break when rain ceases to fall, as experienced in Ilorin a few weeks ago, thereby having effects on both man and farm crops. It is with a view to addressing this yearly problem that the National Center for Agricultural Mechanization embarked on another training for youths from different parts of the country to expose them to the science of irrigation farming. Onyekan Kecho is one of the trainees who believes in the school of thought that agricultural practices must move from archaic method to modern ways as practiced in developed world.
Agriculture now is no longer the practice for the old alone. The age has come, the time has come for the youth to begin to push the frontiers of agricultural practice in Nigeria and in Africa.
I've been able to learn different aspects of agriculture like fishing, and the crop farming, and how to irrigate our farm even during the dry season.
Aside the benefits of nutrients enjoyed by different farm crops through irrigation system, there is also the benefits of green vegetation and a cool earth surface to be enjoyed by all inhabitants.
You have to know how to plant and make sure that whatever you are doing does not affect your environment. We are talking about greenhouse emission. All these things are part of land development.
Earlier, the trainees were engaged in a tutorial class to refresh their memories of what they have learned within the 2 weeks of the training. Aisha Abubakar Yahya, NTA News.
On that environmental note, we conclude the news on Nationwide. Thanks for watching, and do remember to keep standing with NTA in the fight against rape and